Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. This time we're taking a trip back to 1996.
Back in time.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah.
And we're diving into a 1996 issue of Assassination Chronicles.
Oh, wow.
Which, if you're not familiar, it's a magazine for JFK assassination researchers.
Okay.
So this is really a snapshot of what the community was talking about researching, back then.
It's like a time capsule.
Yeah, exactly. A time capsule of JFK research.
That's so cool.
And there's a lot to unpack here. So much interesting stuff. But one of the things that really jumped out at me right away was this conference
Oh, yeah?
that was happening. The JFK Lancer Conference in Dallas.
Wow.
And the title alone, November in Dallas, Evidence of Conspiracy.
Ooh, that's a bold statement.
I know, right?
Right.
You get a sense of, what they're going for here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the speaker lineup is pretty amazing. You've got medical experts, forensic analysts, authors.
Wow.
There's even a former Dallas DA's investigator.
Really?
Yeah, all coming together to present their findings.
It must have been quite the event.
Oh, yeah, a real who's who of JFK research.
Absolutely.
And there's this article about Dr. John Newman, who presented at the conference. He's a CIA expert.
Okay.
And his topic, Contras cocaine and the CIA.
Now that sounds interesting. What's the connection to JFK, though?
Well, Dr. Newman's argument is that to really understand the forces at play surrounding JFK's assassination,
Right.
you have to understand the CIA's activities in that era,
Makes sense.
especially, their alleged involvement in drug trafficking
Oh, wow.
to fund covert operations.
So he's suggesting a potential link between the CIA's covert activities and the assassination?
Exactly.
That's definitely something to think about.
And to add to the intrigue, this conference even had Beverly Oliver singing the Star-Spangled Banner.
Yeah, Beverly Oliver, the woman who claimed to have seen something suspicious in Dealey Plaza right before the assassination.
The one and only.
Wow, that's incredible. It really shows how eyewitness accounts continue to play a role in the ongoing investigation, even all these years later.
Definitely. And it wasn't just a local thing either. This article mentions researchers from Dealey Plaza, UK flew in for the event.
Dealey Plaza, UK.
That's what it says.
Wow, so the interest in JFK's assassination, it's international.
Oh, yeah. It's far-reaching for sure.
It speaks to the enduring power of this event. Decades later, people are still searching for answers, trying to piece together what really happened that day in Dallas.
Absolutely. Now let's shift gears a little bit and talk about some of the specific articles and research highlighted in this issue.
Sounds good.
One that caught my eye focuses on Gayton Fonzie.
Oh, I know his work. He's a really respected researcher.
Yeah, he is known for being very thorough.
Very meticulous.
And this particular article is about his belief in Sylvia Odio's story.
Right, Sylvia Odio. She's the one who claimed that Oswald visited her home with 2 other men before the assassination.
Exactly. And her story has been debated for years, but Fonzie, he really believed she was telling the truth.
It's a compelling story.
It is, and he's quoted in the article as saying that to discredit Odio's story, you'd need a conspiracy so vast.
Wow.
It would have to involve her sisters, her lawyer,
Right.
and all these other individuals.
So he's saying it would just be too complicated to fabricate.
Exactly.
It's an interesting perspective.
And it gets even more interesting.
Oh.
Because years later, Fonzie runs into Odio's lawyer, a man named Connell, at a supermarket in New Orleans.
What a coincidence.
Right. Talk about a small world.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how interconnected this case really is.
Absolutely. You never know who you might bump into.
So moving on, there's this article that dives into the mystery surrounding Oswald's trip to Mexico City.
Oh, yes. That's always been a big question mark for researchers.
Totally. And just weeks before the assassination.
Right.
What was he doing there? Who did he meet with? It's a puzzle.
Exactly. And one of the big debates is, did the CIA actually have photographs of Oswald in Mexico City? Or was he impersonated by someone else?
That's a big one.
It is. And this article presents evidence for both sides.
All right, you've got some researchers saying, yes, they definitely had photos of him.
And others saying it was an imposter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see both arguments laid out.
It is. And then there's the issue of a tape recording.
Oh, right. This is interesting.
A CIA figure named Wynne Scott allegedly played a tape of Oswald speaking for a D.C. attorney months after the assassination.
Months after.
Yeah, and the thing is, these types of recordings were supposed to be routinely destroyed.
So how did this tape even exist?
It raises some serious questions about what else might be out there hidden away.
It's a tantalizing clue.
It is. And then we have the enigmatic David Morales.
Connected to J.M. Wade.
A CIA covert operations group.
Right, and this article only mentions him briefly, but it hints at a much deeper story.
There's always more to uncover, isn't there?
Always. And fun fact, you actually discovered some info about Morales by just asking a former JM Wave operative who his second-in-command was.
You know, it's funny how these things happen. I just casually asked, and he said David Morales.
Just like that.
Yeah, it was a simple statement, but it opened up a whole new avenue of research.
It's like a breadcrumb trail.
Exactly. Sometimes the most significant information comes from the most unexpected sources.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about Raymond Carnet.
Okay, who's he?
So this article focuses on a guy named Raymond Carnet.
Okay.
And he claimed to have information connecting Oswald to anti-Castro pilot recruitment efforts.
Interesting. And what's the significance of that?
Well, the timing is key.
Oh.
Carnet contacted the FBI with this information before the assassination.
Before.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to, jump on the bandwagon or anything.
So he had genuine concerns beforehand.
It seems that way. And the article says the FBI actually re-interviewed Carnet after the assassination.
Wow, they must have taken his information seriously.
Yeah, and they specifically asked him about Oswald's whereabouts during the time period Carnet had mentioned.
So they were trying to corroborate his story with the timeline of the assassination.
Exactly. They were looking for connections.
It makes you wonder what they found out.
Now, I know we have a lot more to cover.
We do.
But before we move on, I want to touch on one more article.
Okay.
Because it really highlights the, different perspectives within the JFK research community.
Always interesting to see the different theories and interpretations.
Right. And this article focuses on Ray and Mary LaFontaine.
Okay. I've heard their names before.
Yeah. And they presented a rather unconventional theory.
Unconventional? How so?
Well, they suggested that Oswald was actually a U.S. agent.
Whoa.
And that Ruby killed him to cover up a planned Cuba invasion.
Wow, that's a bold claim.
Yeah, and that even Sylvia Odio was involved.
This is definitely a different take on the events.
Yeah, it's very different. And the article mentions that the LaFontaines, they kind of have a, contentious relationship with other researchers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they dismiss many established theories.
Interesting. So they're kind of going against the grain.
They are. And they even criticize David Lifton's work.
David Lifton, the author of Best Evidence.
The one and only.
That's a pretty big name in JFK research to be criticizing.
I know, right? But then they also thank him in their book.
What? So they criticize him and thank him at the same time.
Yep. It's a fascinating glimpse into the sometimes, heated debates that happen within this community.
Yeah, everyone's searching for the truth, but the paths they take can be very different.
And that's what makes this whole field of research so compelling.
Absolutely. There are so many layers to uncover, so many pieces of the puzzle to fit together.
And even after all these years, there's still so much we don't know.
The mystery continues.
It does.
It really makes you wonder how much we really know sometimes, what's still out there.
For sure. And speaking of uncovering the truth, this issue actually features a few articles about the Assassination Records Review Board.
The ARRB.
Yeah, exactly. Established in the 90s to review and potentially release previously classified documents.
Right.
Related to the assassination.
And they were responsible for making a lot of this information available to researchers and the public.
Exactly. Huge role in transparency. And their works had a lasting impact on JFK research.
Oh, absolutely. It's been invaluable.
This issue actually includes excerpts from some key testimonies.
Oh, wow.
Given before the ARRB.
Okay.
And one of the most compelling comes from Marina Oswald Porter.
Lee Harvey Oswald's widow.
Yeah, her words are just incredible.
I can imagine. What did she have to say?
She firmly believes that Oswald was a patsy.
Meaning he was set up to take the fall.
Yeah. And that revealing the truth is essential for America to, uphold its commitment to justice.
It's a powerful statement coming from her.
It is. And she talks about the struggle she's endured, having to defend her honor and her life in the face of just constant scrutiny and accusations.
It must have been incredibly difficult for her.
And she makes this really striking statement.
That's that.
She says, if he was crazy, how come I have normal, intelligent children?
Wow. That's a really poignant question.
It is. It really makes you think.
It does. It humanizes the whole situation.
Yeah.
Reminds us that this isn't just about historical events. It's about real people whose lives were deeply affected by the assassination.
Absolutely. And another fascinating figure who testified before the ARRB was David Lifton.
Oh, the author of Best Evidence.
Yes, a groundbreaking book.
It really is.
That examines the chain of custody of evidence in the JFK assassination.
Right, right.
And Lifton's message to the ARB was clear and make the primary source materials available.
He was advocating for transparency.
Yeah, to researchers.
Yeah.
He emphasized having access to the raw documents to really piece together what happened.
Makes sense. If you want to get to the truth, you need access to the original evidence.
Exactly. And Lifton actually went above and beyond to make his own research available.
Oh, really? In what way?
He donated copies of early interviews he conducted with Parkland and Bethesda medical witnesses.
Wow, those are crucial witnesses.
And these interviews included questions that no one else had thought to ask at the time.
He was thinking outside the box.
He was, and he also donated a 35mm interpositive of the Zapruder film to the ARRB for the JFK Records collection.
That's a significant contribution.
It is. And he even appealed to the Zapruder family to donate the original film to the National Archives.
Wow, he was really committed to preserving this historical evidence.
He was arguing that its authenticity and potential for future investigation were just paramount.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
And we can't forget the testimony of Robert Tannenbaum.
Okay, remind me who he is again.
He was the former deputy counsel for the House Select Committee on Assassinations.
The HSCA.
Right.
Okay.
And his testimony is just full of intriguing details.
Like what?
For example, he recounts a conversation he witnessed between Chief Justice Earl Warren and Allen Dulles,
the former director of the CIA.
Yes. And Dulles suggested that a good agent might be willing to lie under oath even to the president.
Wow, that's a pretty shocking statement.
It is. It raises serious questions about the level of trust and transparency within the government.
Especially when it comes to an investigation as sensitive as the JFK assassination.
Exactly. And Tannenbaum also expressed frustration with government secrecy, arguing that overclassification of information was hindering the search for truth.
He felt like they were being stonewalled.
He did, and he specifically highlighted the importance of investigating the CIA's connections to Lee Harvey Oswald and anti-Castro Cuban groups.
Those are key areas of inquiry, for sure.
They are. And then there's this whole mysterious film about anti-Castro Cubans that Tannenbaum saw during his time on the HSCA.
A mysterious film.
He describes it in detail, but its current whereabouts are unknown.
So we don't know what's on the film or if it's still classified.
It's another piece of the puzzle that remains elusive.
Very intriguing.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder what else is out there that we don't know about.
Absolutely. Now, I know this has been some pretty heavy material.
It has.
And you might be thinking, where do we go from here?
Right. What's next?
Well, this issue also includes a reflection on the passing of Larry Ray Harris.
Oh, wow.
A prominent researcher who co-authored the book Cover Up.
And contributed to so many other works.
Right, documentaries, even Oliver Stone's film JFK.
He was a major figure in the research community.
He was, and his death was a real loss.
It was.
But his work continues to inspire others to keep digging, keep asking questions, and keep pushing for the truth.
His legacy lives on.
It does. And reading through the tributes to Harris in this issue, you really get a sense of the passion and camaraderie within this community of researchers.
It's a tight-knit group.
They may not always agree on the answers.
Right.
But they're united in their pursuit of understanding what happened on November 22nd, 1963.
That shared goal is what brings them together.
It does.
It's a real testament to his dedication, and it just makes you think about the bigger picture.
It does. Going through these articles, you get a sense of how this community of researchers was grappling with some really big questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Power secrecy, the very nature of truth.
Exactly. And one thing that really struck me was Marina Oswald Porter's just unwavering belief in her husband's innocence.
Her testimony before the ARB is incredibly powerful.
It really is so moving.
She wasn't just defending Lee Harvey Oswald, she was demanding justice.
Right. Not just for him.
But for herself and for her children, too. She had lived under this cloud of suspicion and scrutiny for decades, and she just wanted the truth to be revealed.
No matter how painful.
Exactly. And her words, they still resonate today.
Go.
When she said, "If he was crazy, how come I have normal, intelligent children?"
It's such a simple question, but it really gets to the heart of it all.
It challenges us to look beyond the easy answers, the convenient narratives, and to really consider the human cost of this tragedy.
It's not just history.
Right. It's about real people whose lives were forever changed by this event.
Exactly. And it makes you think about, the legacy of the assassination and how it continues to shape our understanding of the world. How much do we really know about what happens behind closed doors? How do we reconcile all this conflicting information, these competing narratives?
It's something we still grapple with today.
We do. And with the release of so much new information in recent years,
Right.
it begs the question, are we any closer to understanding what happened on November 22nd, 1963?
Or are we further away than ever? It's a tough question.
It is the million-dollar question, and I think it's one that each of us has to answer for ourselves.
I agree.
There's no easy solution, no single piece of evidence that's going to definitively solve this case.
But that's part of what makes it so fascinating, right?
It's a puzzle that we may never fully solve.
But the search itself can be incredibly rewarding.
Absolutely. The key is to approach it with an open mind, a critical eye, and a willingness to consider multiple perspectives.
I think that's so important in any kind of historical research.
It is. And as we've seen in this deep dive, even within a community of dedicated researchers, there can be a wide range of interpretations and conclusions.
For sure.
So if you're intrigued by the JFK assassination and want to explore these questions further,
Definitely do it.
I encourage you to check out Assassination Chronicles and the other resources we mentioned.
A great place to start.
Dive into those primary source documents, examine the evidence, and form your own conclusions.
It's a journey worth taking.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of JFK assassination research. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking the truth.